Welcome in the latest episode of Betting the Pitch. This is the Champions League edition. We are 45 and 19, 70% year to date, and we will be going through the two left, I guess, two legs, the second legs matchups of Champions League. We'll start with Inter hosting Barcelona, and then we will get to the second PSG hosting Arsenal. To go through the two advanced numbers and, of course, the spreads and totals on this semifinal second leg. And then we'll get out of here pretty quick with an ultimate best bet coming end of show. My favorite pick from Tuesday, my favorite pick from Wednesday. And we will put it into a 1 minute video on Apple Podcasts and Spotify if you want the full episode. But if you want that 1 minute, go to the real_G Warner on Instagram and on YouTube for a very abridged version of what you'll get on this full episode. Thank you, of course, to all my Patreon subscribers. You've been great. Thanks for hanging out, especially as we get to a slower part of the season when soccer is ending, but baseball is really, really heating up. And we have the Stanley Cup playoffs, which hopefully I'll win an overtime bet. Not sure what's going to happen. We're already 0-3 this season, but we'll appreciate all of you sticking around. We'll get to the games in just 1 second. I want to make sure I give the people a little bit of time to get in here as we are late night with the real_G Warner as always, but not as late as it can be. Not as late, certainly, as we were on Friday night into Saturday morning. But we're going to go through the game, so let's get to them as we speak, and or as I speak, because no one else is here. Let's go into Champions right now. So we'll discuss what happened in the first legs, and then, of course, what we're expecting and how that impacts permutations and all those sort of things. Less permutations, I guess, because these are just head-to-head matchups. But Inter Milan, quarter goal underdogs at home right now with all the juice to Barcelona. Total is 3.25, and this one juice is split both ways. So I have been tracking where this number has moved pretty much since after these matches concluded. Inter, they initially opened as a quarter goal underdog also, but they were a very modest -111 at BetOnline. So about the same price. And now that I'm seeing this, I realize I did this wrong. So give me 1 second. I'll update my spreadsheet. But regardless, we've now seen some money come in on the Inter Milan side as they are a very, very slight underdog at home now. Quarter goal underdogs. I do expect some Barcelona money to come in and try to balance that out, but sometimes the markets get ahead of themselves and maybe potentially tip their hand on where things will move. And I do think if you're looking to back Inter Milan, you probably want to grab them now as opposed to losing that quarter of a goal, having it drop to a pick 'em. And then if you go to extra time, because we are level on aggregate right now, then you don't win that bet. So that would be disappointing. I think there's some value there taking the quarter of a goal, even at the -125 currently offered at BetOnline, just because we're not going to see huge lineup changes. Anyone that is available will be playing. Of course, there could be some injuries in the match, but I don't think we'll see many surprises in starting lineups. Of course, those things can change. But for now, I think there's certainly some potential value in the home underdog. Totals at 3.25. Juice is -110 as we speak. It was 3.5 under -125 initially. So that's a bit of a change. I think so. Clearly, some under money is hit, dropping the total down a quarter of a goal, and the juice is split both ways. So that tells me there's some belief in under. So why does that seem to not make sense to me? So I guess we can compare what the lines were the first leg. So Inter Milan were a 1 goal underdog for a fair amount of time, opened up at 3/4 of a goal underdog, climbed to 1, and then eventually closed at 3/4. So right in that range between 3/4 of a goal underdog and +1. Took 1-0 and 2-0 leads very early, held on for dear life when Barcelona tied it up at 2, took a lead, and then were unable to hold on to it. I thought Inter listen to Marcus Thuram, one of their starting strikers, their two-pronged striker system, which is not very in favor across all of Europe as we speak. But they came in there and they played probably the best game they could. Scoring 3 goals in a very defensive structure, I think, is hard to see happening again. By the way, those of you that are here live with me, if you want to throw a comment in here, it'll show up on this bottom line once I see it. Thank you, of course, for coming, and I will make sure that my mic is on correctly, which it's not, but oh well, it's recording fine on Zoom. Back to the regular scheduled podcast. So Inter, they take a 3-2 lead, can't hold on to it 3-3. But I think ultimately, if you could go to Barcelona and get out of there with a result, not a win, of course, that'd be better, but level on aggregate, so you can play your entire Champions League season now rests on a home match in San Siro. I think everyone on the Inter side would have taken it, but of course, a little disappointed they did not win. In terms of their style of play, they played defensively to try to keep as much as they could in front of Lamine Yamal. It did not work very well. Federico DeMarco, who's not really a defender, more of a left wing back creator, crosser, winger, if you would. Um, he did not really have much of a chance against Lamine Yamal after getting roasted a couple times and a goal being scored. I think we saw a second defender come over and they're essentially double teaming Lamine Yamal, and that's going to be something I expect to see in San Siro on Tuesday afternoon here in the United States, Tuesday evening in the United States. Excuse me, Tuesday afternoon in the United States. I just said that. Tuesday evening in Italy. From a Barca perspective, I don't think much changes. They're going to play a high line. Marcus Thuram, after the match, was interviewed on the Champions League show broadcast here in America, Cape Abdo and the rest. And really described how it was a hard game because they sit so deep defensively and then they have to run the entire pitch. That Barcelona presses really well once they lose the ball and get it back very quickly. But I think having just seen that a week ago will prepare Inter a lot more. Probably something that's difficult to prepare from down the road or on videotape. But when you get to play against it, I think that helps. And getting to do that twice in a row, now with your home crowd behind you, I think is a huge advantage for Inter Milan. I am on them to advance number. Let's move to that now. I took a plus 180 entering the first leg as well as a plus one. Which both those, I guess, are in good position. One hit and one, we'll see what happens. But in terms of the two advanced number now, Barcelona are minus 145 to an Inter Milan plus 118. 145 US win 100 on Barcelona, 100 wins 118 on Inter Milan. Of course, the discrepancy there is the handle, but there's not much I can do about that. Sorry about that, but it's not really up to me. In terms of where this number has been, so open minus 170 to Inter Milan plus 138, climbed to minus 200, increase of 15%, all the way up to minus 220 at kickoff when I grabbed plus 180. So that's a pretty big jump, and I think we saw that was not really the best strategy, but Barcelona have been awesome, have won every trophy that they've had available to them. Soon will be winners of La Liga in Spain as well, I suspect. Winners of Copa del Rey, Supercopa de España, all those sort of things. But they play a really risky game, and I feel like a really down Spanish league, La Liga, has been unable to cope with it. Specifically looking at you, Real Madrid. Inter Milan have not been playing great, had a real scoreless streak on them, which has impacted their chase for the Scudetto to win the title in Italy. But I still think they can win that as well. And I feel like this is a really great situation for Inter Milan to be at home, be in the defensive block, and know exactly what Barcelona will do and to potentially try to find a way to cut through it. But Thuram said it's the hard part is just he's I mean one of the paciest guys in the game, but having to run an entire length of a pitch to get into a scoring range is going to be difficult. So set pieces are going to be important. We already saw Inter Milan, I think, get 2 goals off of those, if not 3, in the first leg. Those are easy to defend to some teams, but Barcelona are not a team of defenders; they're a team of creators with some makeshift center backs. And Jules Koundé is a good center back that's now playing fullback. I don't think he loves that, but that's not up to him, I don't think, at this point. I mean, maybe his love is, but I don't think we see much change. And I think we see Inter probably not as effective or efficient in front of goal with scoring so many goals on few opportunities. But I do think they'll be able to defend Barcelona better, which I think explains a little bit of the drop from 3.5 to this current 3.25. In terms of the two advanced number, if you don't have it yet, I think backing any team on their home pitch with a plus money next to their name is valuable, though certainly the 118 versus the initial number is quite different. So I can see that being a little bit of an issue. Just to, I guess, for argument's sake, if you had taken the peak of it all, the plus 180, you would have, let's see, the peak plus 180 to the current price right now. It's a pretty big difference, unfortunately. So it's about, I mean, down 52%, pretty significant drop there. I think there's potentially, I mean, it's tough to say, but I still feel like with a plus number in front of you, with a plus sign in front of the number, easy for me to say, you have some value there. I mean, it's a coin flip is it would be a positive expected value bet if you're taking plus 118. So of course variance and depending how much you want to be of value is up debate. But I think Inter's got a great chance to advance here. And I wouldn't be if you didn't have it already, and maybe you like that better than playing the side. Unfortunately, penalty kicks are a toss up. My underdogs never seem to win them, but they should be a toss up. They should be about 50%, maybe skew a little bit for the home team. Um, but I gotta say, I think there's a ton of value on the shirt that I'm wearing. I'm not a fan though, so just everyone knows. But maybe I'm becoming one because I've been backing them a lot this season and over the years, and I feel like they got robbed of a Champions League a few seasons ago by a great kick from Rodri. And Manchester City. So move to Wednesday. We'll start with the spread and total. PSG quarter goal favorites right now with all the juice totals 2 3/4 juice all the way to over. This is after PSG won the first leg in London at Arsenal, 1-0. Early goal from Ousmane Dembele, who's one of the hottest goal scorers across all of Champions League, across all of Europe this season, and has been great. And Arsenal really didn't have much to do after that. Unable to score many goals, unable to do much. And I feel like that kind of I was into PSG, thought they were very, very cheap. And I'm not a favorites player, so that was never really a decision for me to bet Arsenal. But unfortunately, it was like felt like we were not getting enough to back PSG. That at best we were hoping for a draw away from home, but they scored the first goal, and then there's no other scoring the rest of the day. Also felt like the total was low, but those are the ways I leaned on this last one, last podcast episode. And if you're listening to the Betting Pitch podcast on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, and if you leave a 5-star review, that'd be huge for the search rankings. It would be very appreciated by me and the other co-hosts on here doing an F1 Formula One podcast every week this season. Just did Miami this week, so go check that out if you haven't already. We'll be out with another episode for the next race. But I think at this point, PSG looked like a much better team. So they're quarter goal favorites at home with all the juice right now. In terms of where this number has moved, let me get that and then I'll explain where we're at now. So initially, let's see. So initially we had PSG as a minus 101 on the quarter goal, or excuse me, Arsenal. Arsenal was minus 101. So there's been money coming in on PSG, and it looks like they're potentially going to push this number to a half of a goal, which I think I'm usually assigning about a quarter of a goal in terms of home pitch advantage, home field advantage, whatever we're calling it. I do think that there's potentially a little bit of an overreaction, and a lot of times in soccer betting, I feel like there's no reaction, that the lines are the lines, no matter what happens in the first leg, and really no matter what happens in terms of what is needed, the lines stay the same. So Arsenal as a half of a goal underdog would be a little bit more interesting to me, I think. And I do think that there's potentially some value because if PSG win this tie, which all they need is a draw at home. Arsenal are still making some money for you at the current quarter of a goal underdog, and also if they move to half a goal, then you take home a full unit. So that's of great interest to me, and I think does speak to a little bit of a difference of who these teams are versus what they're priced to be. So that I think there is some value there. I didn't give out my picks for the first best bet, first game on Tuesday, so I'll do that right now. So I like Inter as a quarter goal underdog. I lean to the under 3 1/4, not as strongly, and I lean to the plus 118 to advance, but I'll make Inter plus a quarter of a goal my best bet from Tuesday. Back to Wednesday. So Arsenal are the only way I'd look because I'm an underdog player in soccer, especially. I think there's a great opportunity for them to draw this match, not advance. PSG are celebrating at the final whistle, and Arsenal are taking home the money as they have covered the spread, either this quarter of a goal or a half. I do think that the total is a little bit more interesting to me, with 2 3/4 looking like it's going to climb to a very important push on three. It's a big change from the first leg, which saw a total close, I believe, at 2.5. Not a crazy difference, I'll say, but ultimately one of those that I do think says something about the total. Second leg seemed to be higher scoring because usually amount of goals are known to be needed, whereas there's a lot more conservatism late in matches in the first legs. But at the same time, one team that's ahead and know they are just trying to hold on and run out the clock. I think that cannot always work. Just ask the St. Louis Blues in Stanley Cup playoffs last night, unfortunately. But I think there's a lot more to it defending late and for how difficult it is to score goals, especially not able to put an extra man on the ice on the pitch in this situation. I do think that makes the last few minutes go a little bit more quickly. Plus, you can lay on the floor and waste time and you can't do that in other sports. I guess the yin and the yang, or the yin and the yang of soccer betting versus others. I think there's a ton more value if it's at 3 because that push is really important. In terms of the closing number first time, so we had a quarter of a goal on PSG and 2.5 was the total. So we're potentially going to get a half more of a goal moving from London to Paris. And ultimately, I feel like at a half of a goal underdog, there's some value on Arsenal in that situation as well. Two advanced numbers. So Arsenal plus 333 to PSG minus 450. That is significantly different, especially because of PSG opening up a favorite, climbing until the close. But ultimately, they were minus 120 initially, and then up to minus 130 before kickoff. That has skyrocketed clearly. And let's see if I can get this number to the previous. Let's see. I guess I'll go. Let's go to the close of the from the first leg. So a 71% difference increase for PSG from minus 130 at the close, kickoff of the first leg to minus 450. Plus 106 was Arsenal, now plus 333. So significant differences. Arsenal only down 1 goal, but ultimately when you go on the road, you got to win by a goal, and then you also got to do more than that, win by 2 or more to win in regulation and advance in regulation, or have to go to extra time. And that PSG crowd will be there, supportive of the home team, adding energy, booing a home team where Arsenal will be fighting that crowd. Have more fans than they're used to on the road for a European adventure, but ultimately that is going to be a really, really difficult scenario. In terms of where these teams are, I mean, Arsenal, they've been not really playing for anything in the Premier League for a long time. So they've been really focused on the Champions League. Same thing for PSG because they've won Liga a long, long time ago. But PSG are built with a lot of depth, and Arsenal have really been tested on that. Trying to go for a Premier League, also trying to win Champions League as well. And the more strenuous English Premier League has not. I mean, it's taken a lot out of them. Yes, it's a more difficult league than France, but ultimately has not worked. And I think Arsenal have a lot to look in the mirror for, and potentially need to rotate more in the future to actually be competitive across multiple competitions because they want to win them all. I think from betting perspective, because this is the Betting the Pitch podcast on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify, under at the real underscore G Warner on YouTube and on Instagram. I think the biggest interest for me here are on more. I don't know that I want to take Arsenal away from home to have to avenge a 1 goal deficit to advance. So I'll go Arsenal quarter goal underdogs and under 2 3/4. But I'll be waiting to see that number climb on both Arsenal side and the total to 3. I think more likely we'll see 3 than we'll see, based on both are getting odds right now, plus odds on BetOnline. So those are both great indicators that we'll see a bigger price on both the underdog and the total. But I think I'm more interested in this climb to 3 if we could get there for Arsenal under 2 3/4 goals. So now it's time to get to the ultimate best bet. Very brief episode. Thank you for tuning in. A little bit less of a late night with the real underscore G Warner this time, hopefully. Still made it 18 minutes, so not too shabby, I don't think. But I want to make sure I plug. It doesn't look like we're doing a baseball podcast this year. Eddie Brooks Bets. If you want to slide in his DMs or tweet at him at A Brooks BROKS BETS, that would be a great way to get our podcast back on here talking baseball. I did just record a pregame.com podcast with Munaf Manji at SportsNerd824, going through the Tuesday card. We've been doing Monday nights and for Tuesday cards, and Thursday nights for Friday cards. Expect that same type of schedule the rest of the season. Maybe we get a third episode during the week. We'll see if that happens. But I think it's time for the ultimate best bet. Don't see any comments in the vestibule or whatever we're calling it. So let's get into it and let's record right now. Hey, this is real underscore G Warner on Instagram, Patreon, Twitter, and on YouTube. This is the ultimate best bet from the Champions League Semifinals Leg 2 episode. Went through all the possibilities, the betting lines, the spreads, totals, 2 advanced numbers. We're 45 and 19, 70% year to date. And these are the picks. From Tuesday, like Inter Milan, a quarter goal underdog. And on Wednesday, like Arsenal under 2 3/4 goals. But for the ultimate best bet, check out patreon.com/real underscore G Warner for all plays across all sports, including a good hot run to start May and the end of April, really, in Major League Baseball, plus the Stanley Cup playoffs that deserves so much better than we've had so far, 0-3 in overtime. But that should change. For the ultimate best bet, let's go with the shirt I'm wearing, the horse that I rode in on. Let's go Inter Milan quarter goal underdogs at home to Barcelona, and I think it's a number you want to grab before it falls to a pick 'em because I want to get paid when this match goes to extra time. Though I don't think that that will necessarily happen because I think Inter Milan will win in regulation and will advance. And that'll do it for this episode. Thank you all for tuning in. I will see you on the next one. Get this posted really quickly so all of you didn't catch us live can catch us tomorrow. Thanks for the support as always, and I'll talk to y'all very soon.